My daughter saved my life. 100%. More than 100%. In 2006, I decided to give sobriety a real go because my daughter was coming up to teenage years really, and I thought, well, I'm going to have to be some sort of support here because kids want to go to parties, they want sleepovers and all this sort of thing. I was divorced obviously by then. And for 8 years we had a really good close relationship, went on holiday together, brought friends around, I did all the birthday parties, all this sort of thing. And it was really good. And we became best mates really, father and daughter. It was fantastic really. When I look back, and it's still good now. In around 2014, she moved from Newcastle area down to Manchester, and I helped her move. At that time, I'd met someone else, another woman in my life. I just started to dabble a little bit in drink again, which was my fateful move. But for 8 years prior, my daughter had known me as sober dad and drinking alcohol-free beer. So we go to Manchester, get to this university, the course she wanted, fell in love with Manchester. It's a great city, Manchester, if you've never been, it's worth a visit. So off her own back, she organised this flat and stuff, went down there, did a little bit of work down there to get it all sorted. It wasn't the best area, and so her and the dog moved down there. She had a little dog, still got it, Jack Russell, and she seemed alright. But as I said, there wasn't the best area, but for a young woman, she was free, she had her own car, she was driving from the age of 17, she was getting on really well. So my drinking at that time was just starting, and she didn't realise I was drinking, because I was back in the northeast. So when she got settled, about a month or two after, I went on the train. I started to drink, as I said, and dabbled a bit with it by then. I found this bar in Manchester. She was at work, she'd got a job as well as going to college. And so she'd pick me up from the tram station. So I found this bar, and it was a cold day. It's freezing cold, wet. And this bar was really cold, there was a nice fire in there, and I thought I'll have a few pints. And I got some nice food. I'll never forget, it was chicken legs and garlic or something like that. I thought, this is great, I'm down in Manchester, you know, having a bit of a good time. We'll go and see her, get the tram. And as soon as I got to her, she was going to pick me up. I thought, oh God, I've had a few drinks, she's about to notice. As soon as she saw me, she started to look really down. She said, you've been drinking, haven't you? I said, no, I just had one. She knows the problem that I'd had with alcohol. Then we got back to a flat, and she bought, bless her, some non-alcoholic drinks. Well, as you know, once you've started back on the drink, the alcohol-free drinks are no use whatsoever. So I'd smuggled a couple of bottles in my case that she didn't know about. And I said, I'll take the dog out, but you don't need to come. I found this boozer on the corner. She must have suspected I'd been in there, came back. And I didn't stay as long as I wanted to because I knew I had to get a drink. Horrendous, isn't it? So she knew I was back on the drink. And this continued for the next 5 years, from 2014 to 2019. But when she used to come back, as she frequently does, she used to come and pick me up from the flat, but the flat was in such disarray and such a mess. I would always wait outside the flat, and as time went by, she said, God, you're losing weight, what's in your rucksack? So we used to stay at my parents' house in Northumberland. I said, oh, just a few bits, it's very heavy, that. But I used to take bottles in the bag, you see, and then she later introduced me to her partner, still a partner. I think they both knew I was drinking. They knew I was getting more and more ill, tried to dissuade me, but as you know, no matter what people say, it's a matter for yourself, isn't it, to come off the drink. Anyway, as time passed, 2019, I was seriously ill. October 2019, I was discharged after 2 weeks. from the main A&E hospital in Newcastle, the RVI, and they put me on a referral to Freeman Hospital, which is more of a specialist unit where they do all sorts of carrying with liver, kidneys and all this sort of thing. And I had an appointment there 2 weeks later, and she'd gone back to Manchester, and I was pretty worried about getting there, and obviously couldn't drive, couldn't get in public transport. I was very weak, could hardly walk. In November 2019, but yeah, a few weeks after being admitted. The first day I was admitted was the 19th of October. I'll never forget it. So we go along there, and she takes me in the morning to the hospital, and I had this build-up of the Society's fluid I've mentioned in the past, and the doctor warned me, you're going to have to be admitted here now. Although it was just a check-up, so I was devastated I was going to be admitted. But she seemed to take this in a stride, really. So we've got a wheelchair. She took me to the ward, the nurses do the usual thing, get you ready, and we got into the bed, and she came over and said, oh, love you lots and all this sort of thing. I could see in her eyes she was trying to be strong. I know she'd have cried when she left. And I was admitted then, and from then on I had this ascites fluid drained. I ended up in intensive care. I thought I was going to die. That was November 2019. And things got worse, really. I was in that hospital all that time. I managed to get home for Christmas, but I was so weak and ill. She kept saying to me, why didn't you stop? You know, I've got to stop. You must tell the doctors what you'd been drinking and all this sort of thing. Now, I hadn't had a drink then for a few months, but I hadn't really told the doctors the truth. You've got to tell them the truth. January 2020 came, and I was admitted again. And she came to another hospital, another A&E hospital, because I'd gone as an A&E patient. I couldn't stand the pain of this fluid. I'd been drained 3 times of this fluid. 20 odd litres, 15 litres and 13 litres over a few weeks. And she didn't recognise me in the bed. I'd lost so much weight, apart from this distended stomach. And that's when she said to me, don't die. I need somebody to walk me down the aisle. Now, later on, I had feelings of deep depression, to be honest with you, because I thought I've let her down. Not only myself, I let her down, let my family down, but more her. And I rang her up actually and said, I'm feeling depressed, but I'm frightened to tell anybody. And I'd actually Googled how to kill yourself. Can you believe that? Anyway, she said, you must tell the doctors. So I got taken in again on a 999 with this fluid build-up. And it was Sunday afternoon, all during COVID, this, into 2020, if you remember that. And this doctor came up after 10 hours on a trolley. So sorry that you've had to wait this and the other. And I told her, I said, listen, I said, I've got something to tell you. My daughter's told me to mention it, and I mentioned the suicide thing. And she said, well, you know, it's a horrendous thing to think, but if you're really ill, this happens to a lot of people who are ill over a long period of time. And she said, took my hand and she said, I'll get you some help. And she said, have you got any kids? That's where I've got one daughter, and she said, you've got to live for her, you've got to do this for her. And I'll get you some help with the mental health side of things. So we took her to a ward, well, she was a room, and about 3 o'clock in the morning, another female doctor came in, and she said the same thing, I'll give you some help. And it was never followed up, but I pulled myself out of that because I got stronger over time. But I'll say this now, because if my daughter hadn't been around, I'd have been dead long ago. And when I got sober, she said, if you ever drink again, I will never see you again. And from then on I thought, geez, I've got to get myself pulled together here. Not long after that, my dad passed away, and I thought, I've got to get stronger and stronger and stronger. So I started eating a little bit more, still having hospital procedures done. But the whole emotional roller coaster of that really kicked my system up the backside, really. You know, it was a case of like, stop being so selfish and live for her in a way, and make sure you're around. And I'm around now, obviously. I just had a baby and all this sort of thing. So everything's good again. But that one time, that one drink in 2014 nearly took me back to square one and back, well, onwards to the grave, I suppose. So yes, she saved my life, and I'll always be grateful for that, and we'll have a good relationship again. So if you start drinking again and you've had a period off, or you can't stop drinking, this is what will happen to your life. Not only will you lose your home, your dignity, your self-respect, all this sort of thing, you lose your family, you'll die early. Can you imagine the grief that you'll leave behind? All because of the alcohol. It's a horrendous addiction. You've got to get help. You've got to get off it. I know the NHS are completely overloaded because there are so many people with alcohol problems and drug issues now. But see what you can do with the doctors. Get some self-help leaflets. Just taper off if you can't. Just stop. Don't just stop because it's very dangerous. I did that years ago and I had seizures. So speak to the doctors, speak to me, speak to other people like me who are doing these sort of things, speak to other alcoholics, because the doctors can prescribe, but only an alcoholic will know how you feel. And you've got to seek these people out, people who are recovered alcoholics, or recovering, as I say, and go from there. I'm putting this warning out to you. It's a very emotional thing, this, but this happens to the people who don't stop like me. I was warned numerous times in my 20s, 30s and 40s, you must stop. I did try, but I always relapsed. And that's the problem. The relapse is the killer, because you think everything's going to be normal again, but it isn't. I know people who had liver transplants who've drunk again. You will as well. Every family knows somebody that's been affected by alcohol. There's always a link somewhere, whether it's drink drive or crime or illness or early death. Everybody knows somebody who's been affected by this. It's a tragically packaged poison, isn't it? And it needs to be, the warnings need to be out there, and they're not out there enough. If you benefit from the channel, then please subscribe. If you want to leave me a comment, then please do, and share the video if you know anybody else who's struggling, because there's a lot of people out there who are really struggling with this alcohol issue. And it affects mental health as well, more than people are aware. And I'll speak to you all soon.